Before we get started, I would like to say that this is a follow-up to my review on this game, so I'd recommend watching that so you have more of an idea of what I'm talking about. I would also recommend playing the game beforehand, if you watch that review and decide that's for you, because I will be covering a lot of spoilers. Granted, I won't be going into too much into context, but I will be saying things like, on this route, such and such dies, and so on and so forth. This is, after all, my thoughts on the story, as well as a kind of analysis. I guess you can call it that. Now, the endings can be filed under three kind of broad categories. There's your normal good ends, where, they make it out alive, guy gets the girl, all that fun stuff. You have your bad ends, where someone dies, usually you. Things don't go well for you, or anyone else really. And then you have the endings that just kind of leave you wondering what you just read. You don't know what's going on, you're just sitting there with a dumbfounded look on your face, wondering what you just read, and probably leaving an angry review. That happened a lot, it seems. For the normal endings, we have Ayana and Rio's endings. They're nothing too special. They escape and presumably get together, as I just said. They are left quite open, though. Ayana's end is kind of left uncertain due to her worsening memory, but all in all, it is at least a conclusion. It could do with an epilogue or something like that, though, but what we have doesn't leave me too disappointed. Rio's, on the other hand, hints at her having known Yasunari in the past, but that's just where it leaves off. It's kind of hard to come to any conclusions about that just because of how little information is given. This one really could have done with some form of extension. This is going to be a kind of a common theme here. I really wish that there was some form of afterstory or epilogue or just something for these routes, just to kind of expand upon some of the ideas that they don't really go anywhere with. One particularly interesting thing, though, is that despite these being good ends, these do result in some pretty dire circumstances for the characters that aren't Yasunari and the main heroine of that route. And when I was saying in my review that the endings were unsatisfying, these are the main two I was talking about, especially Rio's. They may only be two of the endings, but they are 2/3 of the good ends. As for the bad ends, the majority are still pretty normal, however unpleasant. Trigger and All Alone are your standard bad ends, with the main character dying because of either a mistake, or, I suppose, a lack of commitment in All Alone's case. They're the equivalent of dying in any other game. Not much new information is given. There is a little bit more to say about accomplices, though, as this could be interpreted as its own route because of how much changes. In it, you get a glimpse at Rio's mental instability, though that train of thought is cut pretty short, because it then shifts focus to Ayana, and her death, because her fragmented memory was bringing her to an incomplete conclusion about her past. I do believe this would be called a tragic end, or at least something comparable. And now for the endings that leave me wondering what I just read. These are my personal favorites, mainly because I rather enjoy being confused by stories like this, and for these, that confusion is most certainly on purpose. The 7 Mysteries and Allegory. As you can probably guess by the title of this category, they are the most surreal and, it seems, the most polarizing of the endings. I can kind of understand why people don't like these ones. They do, after all, come a little out of left field compared to the other endings. These two do have a lot in common, in spite of their differing results in tone, so I'll be talking about them mostly as though they were one entity. The first question they raise in my head is, were they actually trapped in the school? Due to both Sumika's debatable existence and origin, alongside her seemingly supernatural abilities, it's hard to give a complete answer to that. I know this is a very literal interpretation, but I think the most likely answer would be some form of shared hallucination, like Rio suggests in the allegory route. Since, when people died in this situation, they did really turn up dead, which rules out the possibility of it being a complete dream. In that same ending, I'm also left wondering who the 3 students who went missing were. I mean, I'd think that it'd be Ayana, Yasunari, and Rio, but they're shown to be fine. Then again, they aren't shown interacting with anyone outside of their group, so maybe they never actually got out? But then where were they in that end? I get the feeling this is just gonna leave me going in an endless loop, so let's move on. As for the 7 Mysteries ending, that one raises the question of, was Yasunari the only one trapped? or perhaps were they actually trapped together? Because in that one, yes, Nadia wakes up in the classroom alone, and Ayano is revealed to be looking for him the entire day. But in the end, Dio's body is found the next day, but in other endings, characters escape with no implications of waking up or anything like that. I don't really know. I'm kind of at a loss with this one. By now, you're probably sensing a common theme here. These endings leave me feeling like I'm just a step away from figuring out what's going on, but also that I may be completely off. In the end, I can't help but feel under-equipped for this. I don't know enough about writing to do a proper in-depth analysis, nor do I know enough about folklore or history to tell if there's any cultural significance to the things that happen. I've definitely got a long way to go if I'm going to be doing these types of videos in the future. Anyway, I've gotten a little off track here. At the end of the day, these two endings bring me to two possible conclusions about the game as a whole. Either there is something I'm seriously missing about the story, or if that isn't the case, I really wish it leaned more heavily into the weirdness. If it didn't want to flesh out the more grounded endings. I guess that technically makes three, actually. These two highly bizarre ends seem to hint at there being something more to the story, but I can't tell for the life of me what it is. I mean, one of the endings is literally called Allegory, yet it's completely lost on me. So, to any other people who make videos and happen to have the misfortune of stumbling into this one, please do try this game and give your take. Something tells me this is going to continue to bother me every time I look at this game in my library until this issue is resolved. But that's all getting a little ahead of myself. Those are my thoughts on the story, as well as, I mean, can you even call that analysis? Whatever this video was, if it had a purpose at all. Honestly, I just wanted to rant about the story a bit. Anyway, yeah, I've got to go figure out what I'm going to look at next. So, until next time. Also got to figure out where my partner in crime is supposed to be. Been a while since I've heard from them.